Welcome back to your channel. My name is Brad, Supercoach Pro, and today we have a special guest back again. It's Steve from SDS. How you going, mate?
Long time no see, mate. How we doing?
Yeah, good. What about yourself?
Yeah, been going all right. We haven't really done much as of late, just because there's less to really talk about at all. Well, I reckon as well we'll talk about our plans for next year as well. But yeah, no, been going really well. Had a good season all in all, so super thrilled with that. Yeah, how you been?
Yeah, pretty good. I've been pretty busy myself. Been flying out to Madrid to see my son, and my rankings fallen off a bit. So I've only been doing one video a week, and it's been more of a preview and review. So, yeah, I'm not as good as you. You're in the top 700, aren't you, at the moment this season?
Uh, I'm 753rd at the minute, so hopefully one last push
Yep.
during grand final week for Supercoach finals, and yeah, I'm in six grand finals, so we'll see how we go. I was out of the cashy last week by 4 points.
Yeah.
I'm fuming about that because if you just made the grand final, you would have made plenty of dough. So I'm fuming by 4 points. Whatever. Yeah. Yeah. I guess we'll talk about. I guess sort of our. Yeah, I guess our main talking point here is, I guess we could go over our trades and try to think about our best and worst sort of trades throughout the year. What really defined your season, I guess, in some extent, or what really boosted your season. So, Brad, I guess you can. Have you got any in mind that there you go? Oh, gee, that was a good trade, or
Well,
anything
probably
particular?
a couple that come to mind. I mean, the trade-ins that were good. Is you go in history, don't you, here to do this, don't you, Steve?
Yeah, and you look at you press trade history on the right. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, we're getting a pretty good view. So, of the ins, probably at the start of the season, Zeeble, McKenna, and Cameron were pretty good. And these are guys I should have started with. I didn't see the Shearsel role until late. Everyone was saying that, before the bounce, he was lined up in the back line. I didn't know that. Um, then sort of I didn't really do much during the middle of the season, sort of just rookies and whatnot, and one upgrade per every couple of weeks. Good patch here. Got merit in for the Richmond game. I think a lot of people did. Um, and then this was the best trade week, I think, round 13 for me. Brayshaw, Marek, and Neil out for Hobbs, Zeeble, and Baker, Oscar Baker. And then the week after, probably a terrible decision to get rid of English, which we were talking off here before. And these players might have held okay, but I just bring in some spuds for that anyway. Like Malkin's done bugger all, he's been injured. Darcy Cameron's been a bit underperforming, and Jeremy Cameron's bad. So one really good week followed by one really bad week. So it sort of cancelled itself out really. Bringing in Keys was a bit of a miss. Sarong's been underwhelming, and I was saying off air to you too. I was 1 week too early on this trade of bringing in Mitchell. The same week I bring in Mitchell, he's subbed and Dacos goes down, and I could have went sideways to grab Sicily and have Sicily for the last 3 weeks as opposed to Shinkoda, mate. So probably a good thing I looked at my trade history there, mate. But so that sums up mine. Sorry for the bit too much detail on it, but what about yours?
I guess three best and three worst. I'd probably go with I think what I don't remember exactly how the trades were to be exact. I think one of my best, and thanks to you because you really wanted me to do it. But Alan Davey to Bailey Humphrey, that was huge. That was huge. So full credit goes to you because I was real 50-50 on it. You really helped me out there. So shout out to you. You really helped me out there. I think bringing in Andy Brayshaw was really good just because I'm pretty sure it was only one or two games. I brought him in like round 9. He's
Yep.
only had two scores below 100. He's just been ultra consistent. He was at a pretty good price. So I'm very happy with Andy Brayshaw this year. And look, to be honest, like if you asked me this about 3 months ago, I said, it's a bit of a waste to trade, but it's really worked out when I went, I know Sean Darcy did really well a few rounds afterwards, but he had a couple of injury games. Was Darcy to English in round 4, and and I think that's really helped my season. Is I've only made one trade in my ruck line the whole season, and that just helps you so much. So that's certainly a thing I'm going to target for next year as well. Just trying to pick the best two rucks in the game and go from there, because the less trades you use on the ruck line, the better for your side overall. So that's really my three. My three bad ones. Um, I think it was in round 6. I was tossing up who to bring in out of Darcy Parish, Zach Butters, and Stephen Canelio, and I brought in Darcy Parish, and I could have had Butters right there at 494k, and I haven't brought him in since, which hurts a fair bit. So that's really hurt me. And then Parish got injured like three weeks later with the calf, of course. So probably a bloke I wouldn't be starting again. I would comfortably bring him in maybe in the last 4 rounds of the year, just due to he only needs to be healthy for 1 month, but probably a bloke I can't trust for a whole season for. What else has been bad? Like, I think bringing in Coop. I'm just going off the top of my head here. I haven't really thought too much, but I think trading out Matt Johnson for Cooper Harvey when I could have gotten a DPP loop sort of bloke, which would have helped me a bit more with my flexibility with my forward line and back line. But I went with Cooper Harvey just because I thought, oh, well, I mean, I'm saving a bit of money for cover still, but just hasn't really worked out when I somewhat needed him. And then my other bad trade, I would say, that's probably Will Setterfield in round 2. It made sense at the time, but he just didn't really fully fire. And I think the majority of the mid prices were a bit of a waste of time.
Yeah.
Wasn't really necessary. So yeah, that'd probably be my 3 bad ones. But I mean, Setterfield wasn't bad. Like, if I had the opportunity this time, if I had that opportunity in round 2 next year to do a bloke that's gone 2 really good scores, you'd probably do it at such a cheap price, but just hasn't really worked out.
Yeah.
So yeah, those would probably be mine.
Yeah. No, good points there. And some of these players you just don't know. Like round 2, a lot of people jumped on Setterfield and then missed out the 2 important scores. And just like I did with Sheasel, was already on the back foot. And she's made a bit of a segue. We didn't talk about this in the off air, but starting off at 100,000, I'll show you the difference between a bad start and a good start. Has only ever got me into the top overall position 5k, and this is all from a bad start. And I've sort of managed my way to stay in that sort of form. But you look at the year before, and I've done a Steve the year before. I was having the year you're having this year, last year, and you weren't too far off me last year, but this year I'm not even close. And this is all from starting well last year. 24,000, and then you stay in that sort of 10,000 range, even 8,000 range, and it's just I didn't use any trades, and this year I used so many trades early on here with the boost, trying to get the right team. And last year just didn't. You can see that, and then held on. I still had a lot one trade in 22 and finished off the season at 1,200. So I think my segue to this is next year I'll be looking to probably do my preseason research a little bit harder and start with a better side, and maybe go into the forums a little bit harder to see any last minute players get a different role. Like Sheasel missed out on, had no idea that North Melbourne people were saying he's been named in the back line 10 minutes before the bounce. And probably Twitter is another source of thing that I think's helped me this year. Obviously not with my scoring, but more my VC polls and stuff like that. Is the segue to going into VCs and Cs. To be honest, if I didn't have Bont, I'd be more stuffed, because Bont's been my chop out player for every week as VC and C, and he's only gone under 100, once or twice this season. So I think for me next year, like we're both saying off air, is to probably spend heavy on the midfielders, because at least they're viable VC and C options. But also just getting that starting team is so important, because it can be the difference between being in that top 1% or trying to sneak your way into the top 10%. And yeah, it's just a big difference on how you outlook your season. Like, it's huge just getting it right from day one.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think I think with my VC and C, it feels like I think last week sort of really felt like the first week in quite a while that I've kind of stuffed up because I try to get a bit too cute, and sometimes we get in these comfy positions. You start getting a bit, start being a little bit too cute with sort of your moves, and you go past what you really stand by and what's really got you into that certain position. I should have known, like Rowan Marshall's going up against a third game ruckman against Geelong, and I went Rory Laird. So, um, and then I ended up going English over Bont. I was going to do that anyway, but the Rowan Marshall, missing out on Rowan Marshall VC really hurt. But for the majority of the season, it's been pretty good. My worst captain score of the year was a 95 by Jordan Dawson against West Coast, which I just found hard to fathom. Like Adelaide just belted them and he couldn't even score a ton. So that really baffled me. But for the majority of the season, I've gotten it pretty right. Usually gotten a 130 plus or whatever. So yeah, I got some really good scores like Rowan Marshall going up against Port Adelaide, who are pretty leaky on the Friday night back in round 7 was really good. Tim English against Sydney with just Hayden McLean as a ruck was really good. That was my highest score of the year from a VC, 173. So that's been really good. But yeah, so I've just been doing a lot of my research around trying to use my good players as best as I can around some really good matchups and just VCing, seeing them. And another thing I've been trying to do is vice captaining who I actually want to captain. And then if you have a fallback option, you just go there. So that's what I've been targeting, and it's worked for the most part. So
Yeah.
been very happy with my VCNC. I think if I had to guess, my rough average would be around a 135 score from my vice captain or captain. So I feel like that's good. I think there's a few that have gone around that 140 mark. So I feel like I've done pretty well there. So what do you reckon, Brad? How do you feel like you've gone with your vice captain and captain?
I'd probably say 125 because round one I a captain Rory Laird. I didn't have a
That's super stiff. Yeah.
53, and then I got an 80 something for a captain one week, and then about a 105. So I've had 3 really poor ones. But out of 23 rounds so far, I think I've mainly averaged between 120 scores and 160. I grabbed Bont's 160s, both of them, I think. Merritt I used for a 160 as well against Richmond or whatever he scored.
Yeah, good call.
I've got really high ceiling VC or Cs, but my bottom end scoring is really bad too. So probably for me, I don't think this year I probably didn't risk it enough with my VCs. I had probably had guys that had not enough ceiling. So next year I'll probably look at guys that just got crazy ceiling and really bad floors and then a safe C. This year I sort of did 2 safe Cs and then both of them would score shit outs. And it's kind of like, well, I should just take the punt on a VC that's decent. And I also should go pod VCs. I've been playing too safe and I'm not in a position to play too safe when you're, floating around 6 to 8K. You may as well just go for broke.
Yeah.
Sort of Abs Magic does, he just goes for broke with crazy moves. And I think that's a policy I'll do next year is things like that, is bring a pod in a bit earlier as well to catch rank. I think I went with the crowd a lot too much this year. And I also think I didn't trust my gut instinct a lot. So I haven't been listening to a lot of pods over the last 12 weeks. And it's actually probably helped my scoring because I get too many opinions. And like you do, you overanalyze the situation with Rowan Marshall because people are like, oh, but it's Geelong, this and this and this. And sometimes you just got to go over your gut. And it's the thing I've done this year again is not go my gut often enough and probably listen to too many things. So I've sort of stayed away from that and more towards I keep plugging Twitter, but mate, there's some fantastic people on Twitter that don't do YouTube content that are really heavily involved and give you stats you don't see. And I just kind of found it really interesting about the actual charts they put in and the time they put in is crazy on how they work it out. But just gut instinct as well. I know Richmond don't tag, so it's always easy to put an opposition midfielder playing Richmond every week. And then, listening to you as well with, some Hawthorn rookies at the start of the year, little things like that, really, really help you. It's a funny one.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing. If you're around the mark, I think it's perfectly fine early day in the season to play it safe. Like, I think what really costs you, and it's not your fault, it's really bloody stiff that a 700k bloke. But the one thing that a 700k bloke scores 50 in round one, but what really costs you is, yeah, there's if you can just keep consistently getting 125, 130, just not stuffing it up, your
Yeah,
VC and C each week, you just got to make sure that you at least get realistically a 110 plus just out of one of them. You just got to stay consistent with your VC and C. So that's probably and then if you're around your range, yeah, you might as well just absolutely send it and just yeah, try to catch up that way. So yeah, I think vice captain captains will be interesting next year. I think a lot of this won't segue into 2024, or will it? Hang on. Yeah, I guess this can segue into 2024. I think a lot of people starting teams are going to start English. They're going to start Bont. I'm interested to see whether people are going to be willing to start English and Bontempelli, two blokes 700k. I'm going to find that pretty interesting
you
if they are going to do that.
would
What'd
you
you say?
start? Would you start two players over over that price? I probably would.
I'm not planning to at the minute. I think it's just going to be English and then picking up Bont a bit later, personally. But I think, yeah, early days it would be Tim English, and for me, Brody Grundy. If he moves to another club,
Or
he'll be at a pretty cheap price. So I'm pretty keen on him. Um, yeah, I'm probably not planning to start Bont next year, early days, because I just think there's going to be blokes like Clayton Oliver, there's Nick Dacos, there's Tuke Miller. There's some really good options in the midfield that I can just pick up a bit later with Bontempelli, maybe at like 640 or something. So, nah, I'm not, because it is a lot of money you're investing yourself into. So, I think a lot of people are going to go guns and rookies as the tactic next year, which is fair enough. If you can nail the correct trend for next year, then you're a good shot at winning the whole thing, because 2022 was all about the mid prices, and look what happened in everyone's 2023 team. Everyone went with mid prices, but it wasn't the case.
yeah,
For some reason, could 2024 be the mid prices again? Like, it's hard to predict. You know what I mean? So I
definitely.
think 2024 is going to be very interesting. If I had to pick one player from each line, I'd start. I think in the back line would be Nick Dacos. I really like that. If you asked me about 4 weeks ago, my midfield lock would have been Tim Taranto,
Yep.
but it's just more the fact that this second half form has just been really poor. So in terms of scoring, so that's really sort of cooled me off a fair bit, because I don't really want to play. I mean, he's all well and good. It's all well and good playing the first half of the year, but you got to keep it up. And he's had 1 ton after the bye, so that's put me off a bit. I think the lock would be probably Tuke Miller for me at this stage. Like, surely Damien Hardwick isn't going to use Tuke Miller as a tagger. Like, we know what he's capable of as a Supercoach player. We know he's a 120 plus scorer at his best. So I think at a price at around 540, I think that's unbelievable value. And he could be the Lockie Neal of 2024 from 2022. So yeah, I really like Turk Miller. Probably in the ruck, it's going to be Tim English. It's hard to go past him. I'd like to avoid using as many trades in the ruck line as I can. And then the forward line, look, the lock at the minute for me, other than Harley Reid, because he'll be 100% ownership, but it's probably going to be Sam Flanders. I'd assume he's going to be the fourth bloke rotating in that midfield if he stays.
Yep.
It'll be him, Anderson, Tuke, and Rao, I'd suspect. Probably move Swallow maybe more as a half forward. So I think it's hard to go past Sam Flanders if he's playing that midfield role. And why would you take him out of it? He's playing the footy of his life. So I think Sam Flanders at the minute. There's not many options in the forward line. So next year for me, I could just very much imagine that it's going to be Sam Flanders, maybe someone else, and a bunch of rookies, I
Yep.
think, for next year. What are your thoughts early days on 2024?
Yeah. Probably, I think there's going to be a lot more discounted players than what we expect in the midfield. That are going to be picked quite heavily, like favourable, like just because it's based on name. Like Lockie Neal will be cheaper, so a lot of people go there again. I feel like a lot of people that just because they know the player that's been scoring well for years, they'll be heavily owned. But I'll probably go for like a lot of the other guys do, and probably no players really over that 30 mark, as we know you just naturally progressively slow down your Supercoach scoring. And
Yep.
then they start to have a role change a little bit too. They become a little bit of a more forward role for saving themselves for finals and stuff like that, or they go back half back to, I don't know, help the kids down there. So probably looking at younger players. So next year in my back line, I'll probably look to start players like Sheasel and Dacos. I'm not worried about any tags. Not really worried about a forward role for Sheasel unless they clearly say he's going to do it. But if he lines up in the back line round one, I'm starting him. Midfield, I'll
Yep.
probably go back to Bont. He's been so safe for VC and Cs. I want to go back to Oliver, but he worries me. And I'm surprised the news on the stuff that hasn't come out yet about Clary. I reckon that will come out at some point, surely.
Hang
Um,
on. Can I pause you on that?
yeah.
So you're a big advocate. Oh, it's his third strike. It's a 12-game suspension, but he's
Yep.
missed 11 games.
So, do you reckon it's because they're sweeping that under the rug and then they don't want to make it too
No,
obvious?
if it's a third strike, it's a 12-game suspension. Why was he back after 11 weeks out?
I don't know. I feel like it's a bit of conspiracy theory. No,
All
not
right. I'll leave you to it. I think it's a load of crap.
I don't know. Who gets a? I don't know, mate. I was still thinking something weird. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway,
All right. I will buy you. I will buy you. Okay. How about this? If it comes out as true,
yep.
if it comes out as true, I'll buy you a beer. I'll buy you a beer. If it doesn't, then you buy me one. If it gets announced in the next 12 months.
How expensive do you think beers are?
Oh, what? Heaven forbid, one beer.
I'm joking.
Jeez.
I'm taking it. I drink vodka, so you better be buying me a vodka then in the year.
Yeah, yeah. I'll be buying. Hopefully, I can get a Bolter pint of Bolter off you, mate. No, all good. Yeah.
Um,
Sorry, I interrupt you there.
right,
Carry on with past your Oliver crap.
yeah. Are you friends with Clary, are you? So Briggs,
He kissed me on New Year's Eve in 2021. He might have been on the gear then, but nah. Yeah, let's move on. This is
yeah, so, nah, YouTube's not that bad. Probably I really want to start Briggs or English in the ruck line. And then the forward line for me is probably Tom Lynch. I reckon could be a bit of a lock.
Yep.
And for rookie watch, I'm probably looking for Jacob Bauer, who's playing this week, I think, for Revolt. We need a second key forward, so I think there'd be a couple of Richmond players I'll look at next year as pod rookies. Like Gibkiss coming off a 24-week hamstring, however that works. Like he's a defender that will be 200K next year. So I'll
Beautiful.
look into things like that. Like you'll know all the Hawthorn list. There'll be Hawthorn pod rookies you can use next year that others won't have. So I'll probably use that to my advantage this year instead of sticking away from Richmond players because now we're going to have a good run of fixtures next year again. And yeah, that's pretty much my lineup for the next year players. But yeah, what was next on our agenda? I've gone blank.
It was a grand final tip, but before we get to that, do
Cool.
we reckon we should check at rankings right now? There's 1 week to go. Who's winning the comp? Because it's pretty close between basically the top. Yeah, really the top 8. It's pretty close here.
Yeah, this almost depends on their B, C, and C option. To be honest with you, though, Steve.
That's massive. That their life depends on that decision this week.
That's pretty much the only thing separating. But I reckon I'm still sticking with that guy that's got the 25-point buffer.
Ooze and Sauce, Jay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know his team's pretty good, and he's got the most value out of everyone. Sorry, keep burping.
Swooped.
Everyone here bar 7th. I know Gazza was first for a bit. He's just slightly dropped off. 50 Shades went up a few spots. It's going to be close. It's hard to tell. It's a massive week for all these blokes here. So I wish everyone the best of luck with that.
Yes.
It would be you wouldn't want to talk for like a week until the season's done. I reckon if I was in that position, it would be pretty tense around the household if you were in that position. So best of luck to everyone there. I think the next one was the grand final tip.
Yeah. Well, who do you think is playing first off?
I like going bold. I'm going to go Carlton, Melbourne.
Who wins
Actually,
it?
no. Actually, yeah, Carlton, Melbourne. And who wins it? I'm going to say Melbourne.
Wow.
What are you thinking?
I think it'll be Collingwood, Brisbane. I think Collingwood would get Dacos back in time, and I think Collingwood win by 29 points.
Okay.
Brisbane at the G.
Who would win the Norm Smith that day?
Dacos.
Fair. I'd say Melbourne by 15 with Stephen May winning the Norm Smith.
If Melbourne played, Track is the Norm Smith medalist.
Yeah.
If
But I
Carlton,
can throw a few curveballs. The Norm Smith. Like, who would have thought Jason Johannisen would have won it in 2016?
does that I know Dogs fans are going to hate me in this, but does that sort of prove that Dogs definitely fluke 16 just the way they are now? And they
No, I don't think. No, I don't. I don't think any flag's a fluke if you win 4 games in a row against the best teams. I just think there was just so much hype around them where, yeah, just the Dogs were. I think the Dogs were just so upbeat about heading into every game every week, just having the fans and really all of Australia behind them because we haven't seen the Dogs win a flag before until then. So, no, I wouldn't say it was a fluke personally. But I do think they're a bit over. I did think over the years they were a bit overrated in terms of everyone going, "Oh, how great's the Western Bulldogs," all that, but they haven't really proven much since 2016 for me. So
that's what I'm
I think people are starting to finally realise about the Dogs. I don't think Luke Beveridge. I've said this for a while. I've never really thought Luke Beveridge over the past few years was a good coach. I think people are starting to realise that. So
Yeah. He plays players out of position. Man, that guy's
yeah,
team's elite. He's only got Doherty missing out of that, so he can't loop a player. But North play Gold Coast. He can't really do anything loop wise though, can he?
um, he's got
No.
Sheasel there as well. Has he got Butters? Yeah, he's got Butters. Gee, that's a good team, man. Callum Mills does hurt. That could expose him. But
Yeah.
that's a bloody good side. Yeah,
Yeah.
who's in source?
I'd
Yeah,
say
that's a good team.
mine's better this week.
Yeah.
Um, I'll
Nah,
win.
it's all good. I guess one more thing before we head off is I guess we can talk about what our I guess we can talk between each other because we haven't really talked much about it. Our plans for next year. I guess I can start if I had to think of anything off the top of my head. I think we'll do more live streams together next year.
Yep.
We only did a couple during the back end, but there just really wasn't much to talk about.
Yep.
So we will certainly look to do a lot more live sessions next year with everyone, everyone involved. They'll be good fun. Certainly collabing with more YouTubers. I think if we can add if we can add a different person to each live stream,
Yep.
that would be great. I think still continue jump on, jump off. That's pretty good. So I think things like that. So just being more consistent with jump on, jump off. Oh no, we were pretty consistent with that, but more consistent with the live streams. So that's probably what I think of off the top of my head on what we could do next year. It's been a good first year together.
Yeah, no, it has been very good content together. Been getting a lot of feedback too. So
Yeah,
I probably just wish I did a little bit more socializing with the YouTubers like you have been, and getting out there a bit more. But that's more of a personal level sort of thing. But is what it
that's
is.
all right. Look, mate, there'll be plenty of opportunities next year that we can all connect together in person. I just farted. Yeah, hopefully that the mic didn't pick it up. Fuck.
I didn't.
Nah. So no, there'll be events next year, and hopefully you can come along to them and meet all the boys as well, and meet everyone in the Supercoach community. Yeah, so I think just we all have ideas. We both have ideas in our mind, and how can we both improve and that sort of thing. So we're always here for advice and all that sort of thing. So no, it's been a really good first season. There was something that I was trying to think of that I've just forgotten. Okay, never mind.
You know what?
But no, I think it's been a good season.
Disappointed that this is our last week for both our teams. I mean, Richmond still finished higher than Hawthorn, so that was the main thing for me.
Oh yeah, yeah. Gee, you'd bloody hope so.
And and, and we beat you by a point. And I texted you, Matt. You were salty. I was like, this is good.
Yeah, I was salty. I was massively salty. Um, yeah. Oh well. It's I mean, at least he didn't finish ninth.
I was waiting for it. No,
Hopefully,
good.
we're both shit. So hopefully we can play each other twice next year.
Yeah, hopefully we get one and win each. Then we should go to the game next year, Richmond Hawthorn.
Yeah, we will. Yeah, get on the Terps. The piss.
Oh, I was like, what? You know,
Well, you never heard that saying before.
I thought this was an NT saying or something.
No, you absolute boomer. Um, look, I think we'll leave it there, guys. I
Yeah.
think we're just waffling now. So
All right.
yeah, look,
Yeah.
yeah,
Jumping off.
it's been a good teaming up together this year. Look to do it again next year. Cheers for the great season, Brad.
Steve.
Yeah, we'll be talking to each other privately during the off season and think of other ideas and all that sort of shit. So, yeah, glad. Hope you guys enjoyed our combination. You'll see more of it next year. We're not going anywhere.
It's easy. All right. Thanks,
Yeah.
Steve. I'll speak to you soon.
There, guys. Have a
Yeah,
good one.
you too.